If you feel like you've tried every diet, every supplement, every protocol, but you're still dealing with persistent acid reflux, IBS, or digestive issues, you might be missing this important tool. Most of my clients come to me thinking so much about what they're eating and constantly looking for the food that is causing their symptoms. However, they often overlook how the way that they are eating and the way that they are thinking, how that could be impacting their digestive symptoms. Mindfulness is an essential tool that could not only revolutionize the way that you digest your food, but also the way you think about food and nutrition. In this video, I will share the mindfulness tools that have helped myself and hundreds of my clients radically transform their gut health, digestion, and relationship with food, how mindfulness can help you transform your gut health, how mindfulness in the way that you talk to yourself could actually be one of your biggest barriers in healing, and lastly, how to incorporate mindfulness in your life on a day-to-day basis to help you optimize digestion and promote optimal gut health. So one of my clients, Sarah, came to me and she was dealing with constant symptoms of IBS and acid reflux, burning in her chest, in her throat, and she had a really hectic schedule. She was a CEO and she was always running around and really rushing through her meals. Because of her schedule and how much she had going on, she would often grab what was available and not really put thought into her meal choices or any sort of preparation for her meals that week. We decided to put more mindfulness into the way that we prepared her for the week and the way that we planned her nutrition. It was one of Sarah's biggest goals to enjoy food again. So instead of viewing food as a chore or something she had to do and just grabbing the quickest option, we decided to put more emphasis on thinking about what does she want to eat that week? What is the composition of her plate that will help her feel her best? And started to plan out some easy meals for her to create and execute during the week. We were also super mindful about what her meals were composed of. So we made sure that her meals contained a protein food to help support lean body tissue. Protein is the foundation of your enzymes and essential for digestive enzyme production. So we made sure she had a protein also to keep her satiated in between meals. We also made sure that she had a carbohydrate, specifically a fiber-filled carbohydrate. So something like quinoa, sweet potato, wild rice, or pumpkin squash. This really helped her nourish her gut with more B vitamins and fiber. We also made sure her meal had a plant. So making sure that her meals each had a different type of fruit or vegetable. This radically changed her gut health and really helped her optimize her gut microbiome composition, which helped her recover from IBS and acid reflux. By getting really clear on her goals and slowing down and thinking of what was going to support her at her meal times, taking the moment to thoughtfully plan her nutrition for the week, this really helped Sarah find a nutrition practice that helped support her digestion and overcome acid reflux and IBS. When I was struggling with GERD and acid reflux, and if you haven't seen my video on overcoming acid reflux, definitely check that out. But when I was struggling, I was constantly thinking about the foods that may be causing my symptoms. And I was not thinking about my mealtime hygiene or how I was eating. So mindful eating or mealtime hygiene, I kind of use the two interchangeably. This is a concept that will absolutely change the way that you digest your food and help you prevent symptoms. I used to get to my meal and eat it as quick as possible. I wouldn't really pay attention to my hunger or fullness cues. I would eat way past fullness, go way too long in between meals, and then get to the next meal and be starving and then eat past fullness again. It was like this cycle. And then I was getting to my meal so hungry that I was not chewing my food. I was really eating quickly and also drinking a ton of fluids at my meals, not being mindful of my fluid intake, and that really created exacerbated digestive symptoms, especially acid reflux. So what I started to do was really slow down at my meals and enjoy the flavors, notice the textures, notice my hunger and fullness cues throughout the day. When I was starting to feel hungry, I started to have a snack or a meal. When I was starting to feel full with that eating opportunity, I would know that that is a good time for me to wrap it up. And eating to 80 or 90% fullness really helped me prevent acid reflux. It is still a tool that I use myself and that I recommend my clients practice. It's a practice because it's easier said than done, but we really want to try to eat more frequently throughout the day so that when we get to that meal, we're not ravenous and we can actually eat to 80 to 90% fullness. Also, important to know that your stomach doesn't have teeth. And so when I wasn't chewing my food, the food would hit my stomach and my stomach wouldn't know what to do with it. And it would increase the likelihood that I would reflux that food. So chewing well really helps things move down, especially if you have esophageal dysmotility issues, and be more easily digested when we begin that digestive process in the mouth. Avoiding too much liquid during your meal is really, really key, because excess liquid can dilute digestive enzymes and overfill the stomach. And that mix of a lot of water plus food can sometimes be problematic for reflux. So try to limit that to 8 ounces or less, 1 cup or less during your meals, so that we're not overfilling the stomach. So this way of mindful eating is a really essential practice, and I recommend that you choose 1 or 2 tips from this mindful eating practice to incorporate in your own life. I also have a free phone background to help remind you of these tips, so be sure to click down below to download that free phone background to remind yourself of these mindful eating habits. I want to now talk about one of my clients, Rachel, who struggled with severe anxiety related to her digestive symptoms. She struggled with GERD and acid reflux, and every time she would have a reflux symptom, she would start to really feel panicky and her anxiety would skyrocket. Her mind would go to the worst case scenario, which is a natural coping mechanism. Our mind is always looking for the threat. And so our mind is more likely to notice negative sensations or negative threats that we perceive versus positive experiences, because we're always on defense. Rachel also would tend to feel really stressed about certain events in the future related to her symptoms, like how would she eat out at this event on the weekend, or what was she going to do at this family gathering that where dinner might be really late and some potentially triggering foods. And so these anxious thoughts were really contributing to her anxiety levels, and then that anxiety was also worsening her acid reflux symptoms, because we know stress and anxiety can exacerbate reflux symptoms by changing the tone of the lower esophageal sphincter, which is the sphincter that connects the esophagus and the stomach. And stress can also increase or decrease stomach acid production. Stress essentially can change our motility. So research tells us that stress can cause mechanical acid reflux, that flow of food in the stomach back up into the esophagus. So really important that we think about stress when it comes to our own treatment plan for acid reflux. So what we started to do is incorporate mindfulness into Rachel's daily routine. Instead of waking up and immediately checking her phone or looking on social media or the news, we implemented 5 minutes of meditation on the FLORA app or 5 minutes of journaling to start her day off in a mindful way. This allowed Rachel to start the day with intention. And so that when a stressful thing happened to her later that day, maybe she felt a little bit of symptoms in her throat or her chest, or maybe she had an anxious thought, she felt like she had a calmer baseline level of stress to deal with that. So she felt less reactive. She had a little bit of space in between the potential threat and the reaction she was having. So over time, this became a practice that she incorporated every single day. And then we also started to infuse bits and pieces of mindfulness throughout her day. So we incorporated a quick 10-minute walk after her workday to just release the day. We incorporated deep breathing after her meals, which, by the way, diaphragmatic breathing has been shown in randomized control trials, which is the strongest evidence available to help prevent acid reflux after meals. Diaphragmatic breathing can help tone the lower esophageal sphincter to prevent the backflow of stomach contents into the esophagus. So we incorporated the diaphragmatic breathing after her meals, not only to help with her mindfulness practices to decrease stress, but also prevent acid reflux. Rachel now has no acid reflux symptoms. Her anxiety levels are much lower than when we first met, and she's been able to incorporate her favorite foods again, such as coffee and tomato sauce. If you want to read more client success stories, be sure to check out the testimonials down below in the description. I want to talk about one more case study where we were able to use mindfulness to radically change digestive symptoms, and this is my client, David. David was a truck driver. He still is a truck driver, and his schedule is really erratic. His eating patterns when we first met were really, really erratic. And so in addition to the practices of mindful eating, slowing down at meals, mindful nutrition choices, of choosing what components do we need in our meal to support our digestion, and some meal planning, we also incorporated mindfulness in his day-to-day life because his job was very stressful, and he also had a considerable amount of anxiety related to his symptoms, as well as 3 diaphragmatic breaths before his meals. The diaphragmatic breathing before the meal really helped him get into a mindset of, okay, this is my time to eat, my body is receiving nutrition, versus feeling really anxious around that meal time. It also helped him recenter so that he was more prepared to eat mindfully during that meal. One thing that was very, very helpful for David in reducing his stress levels and also optimizing his digestion was incorporating more mindful movement into his life. So we were really strategic about the movement we included. We talked about some walking, some acid reflux friendly yoga on the FLORA app to release stuck muscle tension, but also reduce stress, which is so key for digestion. Anytime you manage stress better, you optimize digestion and help yourself prevent digestive symptoms. So by incorporating some mindful movement, some diaphragmatic breathing, and mindful eating, David really saw a huge improvement in his acid reflux symptoms and was able to lower his medication. David is currently working on coming completely off his medication, and he continues these practices in his everyday life. It's so inspiring to see. All of these clients have given me permission to share their stories, and they have their testimonials up on my website, by the way, so I'm not breaking HIPAA. I want to give you a few tips to help incorporate mindfulness into your life in an easily digestible and accessible way. The best way to get started is by starting small. So start with 5 minutes of mindfulness, whether that's a 5-minute meditation on the FLORA app, 5 minutes of journaling, 5-minute dance party, stretching, whatever helps you release stress and helps you feel connected to your body and present in the moment. The present in the moment part is really, really key. So your mindfulness practice may look different than someone else's. If what helps you feel present in the moment is getting out in nature, let's find a way to do that 5 minutes a day. Or maybe it's deep breathing or self-massage or stretching, whatever really helps you. Or prayer. Let's try to incorporate that starting very small, 5 minutes a day. And let's be really concrete about where we're adding this in our day. So let's try to commit either in the morning or the evening or a lunch break, wherever you feel like this is going to be the easiest for you to accomplish. Let's schedule it into your day, into your calendar, whatever you use for scheduling. Let's make sure that it is there. Down below in the description, I'll also link a free 30-day habit tracker so you can start to incorporate this mindfulness in your day and hold yourself accountable. Make this a non-negotiable to build this into your life as a concrete habit to optimize gut health. I want to also give you an important strategy if you struggle with negative self-talk. I want to start to become more mindful of the way that we talk to ourselves. So if you start to have a negative thought, maybe about digestive symptoms, about nutrition, about your future, whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? If the thought is not true, potentially, or not helpful, that is not a thought that you need to give any more energy. So imagine you could just swipe, delete it, and move on to the next thought. Anytime you have a negative thought, notice it without judgment. Is this helpful or is this true? Swipe, delete, if the answer is no. So let's start to be more mindful of our self-talk. Another way to get started with building new habit is habit stacking. So let's add this habit onto an additional habit that you already have, like brushing your teeth or walking your dog. Think about the habits you do every day, and let's add your mindfulness right there into your day so that we can start to infuse more mindfulness into your life. All of these stories that we talked about today really exemplify how mindfulness can exist in nutrition, in our self-talk, in the way that we live our everyday life, and how mindfulness can be an essential tool to help manage stress and optimize digestion. So what other habits are key for gut health? How do you actually build a gut healthy meal, and how do you plan your meals? I have all of the questions answered for you in my last YouTube video on 7 habits to optimize your digestion and gut health. So be sure to check out this video to learn these habits so you can start optimizing your digestion and getting more relief from digestive symptoms. See you at the next video.